This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
This is the Easthampton Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. It is June 20th and it is 6:16 p.m. We will start off with public speak.
There we go.
She comes. Okay. Great. Is anyone here for public speak?
Yes.
Great.
All right, now I'll erase that. My name is Kathy Krasinski. I live on Overlook Drive. I wanted to briefly just talk about the idea that the high density housing is
This is the housing partnership. Hi, Scott. Sorry.
It's up. CPA's upstairs. Yep.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay,
Carry
carry on. High density housing.
The high density housing is detrimental to our community. Our concerns have nothing to do with affordable housing. I would actually love to see some beautiful affordable housing built for people that wasn't high density and wasn't square boxes that will eventually become dumps, because pretty much all of those developments, that's what they become, unfortunately. They're beautiful when they're built, and then they just deteriorate quickly because they're usually the lowest common denominator in terms of quality build. I would rather see affordable housing that is a quality place for a family to live in, like a duplex, or other options available that make our community more affordable, that don't raise our taxes, because these developments are going to require significant infrastructure upgrades. With this level of high density building, we are likely going to see water and sewer problems if they are not upgraded. In 2018, the Tie and Bond report discussed the fact that our infrastructure, the sewer in particular, was deteriorated to the point of us having infiltrates leaking into the system, causing us extra money to process water that was already clean. And when there's infiltrate, there's also water coming out of the system into our ground. And that means there's sewer going into our ground system. And adding more volume into the system is not practical without it being repaired. And we do not need to urbanize Easthampton any further. It would be better to leave it as a more rural community and build affordable housing that is worth living in, and not these high density, multi-story buildings that are eyesores. Frankly, they're disgusting. The Main Street architectural build is terrible design. It doesn't fit within the community that's over there. It certainly doesn't fit with the rest of the architecture of Main Street. And just like the Cottage Street building, those buildings are designed the same way, and they're eyesores, and they will be eyesores for our community. They're built.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. It's our first meeting for the CPA running without the planning department person that we usually have. Does anybody know the pin to get into the computer for the room upstairs?
I do. I have the directions.
I would really appreciate it. So sorry to interrupt. I didn't.
These are the directions for conference room 1.
Thank you so much.
You can keep those.
I'm missing.
I know.
Yeah,
I was very proud of myself.
Bye, Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public speak? No.
All right, we have another meeting.
Okay. Thank you. All right. And we're gonna move on to approving our April and May meeting notes. Which we sent out, I sent out this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I wasn't there.
Okay, hold on. Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? Great.
Thank you.
All those in favor of approving the April and May meeting notes?
Sure.
Great.
I
Fantastic.
think I've seen, like, thinking about
Oh.
these meetings.
You what?
I think I'm pretty sure I was.
Oh, you abstained?
Yeah.
Okay. From both. You were at one of them online.
But, well, I got there very end.
Okay.
We have, Kaya and Ben.
Not, Ben's not gonna be here. Kayam is on vacation, was hoping to maybe come remotely, but, had spotty Wi-Fi wherever he is. I think he's like in Provincetown or something with his family. So maybe he'll show up, but he did email me his comments. So I'm going to. All right. So as a reminder, these are the things that I'm hoping we're going to do tonight is make decisions on things.
Yay.
We don't have to like draft have everything like a final document tonight, but I'm just hoping that tonight we can decide on all the things. And then the next step would be to come up with a memo and actually make the changes and track changes in the zoning, which I'm happy to volunteer to work on. But I think tonight we just need to like make decisions because we have a forum and snacks. We should be able to do that. So, since the thing we still haven't talked about is the fair housing piece, I want to talk about that first.
Yeah, and I'm emailing you
Can
my comments.
Can you email it to the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership email address?
Sure.
Because then I can pull it up on the screen. Yeah, it is AFHP
Okay.
at easthamptonma.gov. We have an official email address, which Jana occasionally forgets to check for weeks
Yeah, I
at a time,
get
and then I
that.
check it and I'm like, people actually email me.
I didn't even know that.
Well, it was because originally, like, my personal email address was on the city website, and that started to feel kind of not appropriate. And so we made a Easthampton account, which
I
feels
think
more,
that's very smart.
feels
Alright.
more professional.
Sent. Got over there, Shira.
Aussie bites from the
Oh, I
Costco.
love those.
From the, from the
I love
Costco.
Costco.
Yeah, they're really good. I had like 4 today.
I've never had them.
Now they
I
have
will,
protein balls too. that are
I'll indulge.
fantastic.
They're good, they're sweet. They're like black.
Okay.
and
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like oatmeal
honey
cookies.
and-
but
They look very healthy. They have like things in them. Is it not coming to you?
Mhm.
Let me make sure. Do you have to have,
I was like, oh shoot, a snack. Oh, good. Aussie bites.
right, I have an open bag of popcorn that I just opened
Maybe-
and have cups to put it in if you want it. So I sent to afhp@easthamptonma.gov.
Affordable Fair Housing Partnership.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Phew. Nice.
What's
Oh, there
Main
it is.
Street property was she's talking about?
The
Main Street one is the one
Was
by
she saying about the
Goodbye.
new one?
Yeah.
Oh.
Did we see, we've seen pictures,
I
right?
don't know the picture.
The buildings are kind of modern. I can sort of see why people don't love the way
That's
it's
the one down
Yeah.
by the big wire.
Yeah, it's
Right.
on the, yep.
They're like prism shaped. I don't know what that
They're
shape is.
they're designed to like. I think it has to do with like the
The sun
active
and-
solar that they're trying to like all that stuff and
Mhm.
like not blocking the view. So they're kind of at a weird angle, but they are a little. I mean, they're. They don't look like old build. They like look kind of modern. So I,
Right.
Yeah.
can see why. people
I just
don't love
wasn't, for some reason I thought she was talking about an existing property. So I.
them.
Was there? Yeah, she didn't actually say. I was gonna ask her about that.
I think she was talking about the one on
Do it back
Cottage.
and
the new
forth
one.
During public speech.
That's what I thought she was talking about, but she definitely said Main
I
Street a
think
couple
she,
times.
I think she mentioned both.
Oh, she mentioned the cottage as an example of one that doesn't look good.
The cottage building that just got built.
Um,
Cottage Street.
I think looks great.
I think
all
it's
right, so
fine.
I'm sharing this. I can't
I like it. My
see.
husband doesn't like it either.
Change is
Could
hard.
be worse.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
I mean,
To avoid an infinity mirror.
if you look at some of the places in Boston next that have sprung up, like in Forest Hills, and I mean, they are really just boxes.
Mhm.
They're just boxes.
Well, the downtown Amherst also has that like those giant boxy, modern looking.
But those aren't affordable housing, which is actually built by people who care about what the housing looks like.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually think like the community builders and I don't know. They're not just trying to make money. They want to actually make nice places. Anyway.
All the snacks before we get.
All right, here we go to fair
I was
housing.
just
Uh,
talking out loud.
The fair
Can I make this
housing,
bigger?
there were 3 sections that had this kind of cost and eligibility requirement stuff. And I think, sorry, we want to make sure that they all kind of say the same thing.
Mhm.
So the first part, the other question I have is DHCD is no longer DHCD.
Right.
We need to change that in all of our zoning.
Well, we could suggest that they do that. Now, I mean, that's not hard.
Find and replace.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the changes that I'm suggesting, and let me just make sure I know what I have here. So it's not showing you, can you turn on track changes? Because you can see the comments, but I also did some track changes.
Where do I do?
At the top under, yeah, it should be there under review.
Oh, gotcha.
I'll mark up. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So I added
Here. Okay.
in that first paragraph where it says affordable housing shall be rented or sold to and occupied only by eligible households. I added the words as required by state law because that makes it easier for us to defer to the state law rather than making those decisions at the local level and then not be in compliance with the state law. So that's why I added that. What else did I say?
Should it say affordable housing shall be rented or sold to an occupied only by?
They're in the actual
household? You're saying that,
Are they?
are you?
I'm in my copy of it because I didn't want to mess with the other thing. Go ahead.
Does state law, when you say as required by state law, do you mean their definition of eligible households? Or do you mean that affordable
Question.
should, like, so my question is, should that say as required by state law or as defined by state law?
Probably that. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I was also thinking maybe like by state regulation. Like, I don't know if it's a law as it is
Great.
like a regulation. Are you changing my mirror version? Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
As defined by state regulation?
Yeah, I would say as defined.
Okay. Great.
Delineated?
There you go. Even better.
Said preference will be given to eligible households that meet one or more local preference categories in accordance with blah, blah, blah. Is this the only place where it mentions local preference or does it mention something
No.
else?
There's more of it. So the reason, I think what I was thinking was, if we said affordable housing shall be rented or sold to and occupied only by eligible households as delineated by state regulation, then we get rid of the rest of that
Yes,
because that's what it is, right?
And that could change and it's like.
it can change. And what the community builder said the other night was that like, yes, you could put in a local preference, but EOHLC could say, no, you can't have
Right.
that.
Yeah,
So
And this is insinuating that like you automatically get a local preference.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
not true. Yeah, I would just take it out.
So on my thing, I'll take it out.
Okay.
Let's see. I highlighted household because it might have said family and I changed it.
Okay.
And I put a track change to that, sorry.
Maximum monthly income permissible, assuming a household size equals the number of.
There you said-
I also kind of think this is irrelevant, it's, all of this is like governed by
I
the
know.
affordable housing program that the developer is using. So
Right.
it doesn't really,
Right.
I
we
feel
don't
like,
even really need to put it in here, but
I know, I feel like all of it is whatever the program of that builder. is
I mean, we
requiring,
could just
that's
leave it
what
as
we'll do.
one
We'll follow the rules.
and get rid of everything else, right? Really.
just leave one and then get rid of for an affordable rental unit, the monthly rent payment, blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
Is that what you're talking about? too?
Mhm. Because
Sorry, I
this-
got a little lost.
No, it's okay. So the second statement
Yeah,
is the law, is the regulation,
yeah,
right? It's just telling us what affordable rent is,
right.
which doesn't have to be in here.
No, because it's in the governing, it's in the regulatory agreement, it's in
Mhm.
all of the agreements that the developer is gonna sign to build the housing. It doesn't really matter.
Say family before.
Yeah. So it said, wherever it said family, I took it out and put household
Because that's what
for
we're
our
changing
earlier
the
conversation.
But I thought when I went to that meeting, whether the developer was there and was talking about it, and I asked what is an affordable rental unit? She said it could be 30%, 50%, and then 10%.
That means
That's your income.
you're building it for people at 30% of area median income or for people at 50% of area median income. What this is saying is that the rent can't exceed more than 30% of their income
Who's
when they
income?
pay it, the person who's renting.
Okay,
So there are two different things that we're talking about.
It's what it's saying is if you have a 2-bedroom apartment, the state assumes that 3.5 people will live there, a 3-person household will live there. And you have to use the 80% of the area median income for a 3-person household. And then
30% of
figure out what 30% of that is. It's like how the developer calculates what the rent for the unit is. But that is based on the funding source. So like low income housing tax credits is going to tell you how to do that versus some other funding source. So I feel like it's just like in here for no reason.
Yeah.
If you want to put them in a cup, you can.
Because the funding source that
I
the
think it
developer
just confuses things.
It does, because
Because then what if the
Mhm.
what if the
But
program
you
that,
see the difference
doing
between
the
what we're
funding
saying
doesn't have
about the
those
30,
that-
50, 80, and this.
yeah,
but it always will.
right.
Because
I'm saying it
we're talking
depends on
about-
the funding source.
Right,
I'm
so
saying
we back
it's
up.
like,
we're talking about two
We're
different
gonna
things,
back
right?
up and give Donna a little bit more info.
Yeah,
So
I've been reading up on, trying to like get my head around.
Yeah, it's complicated, so please don't feel like any kind of way about it.
No, I don't, I just can't ask.
There is a conference. It could already.
oh, well, good.
When we talk about developers building
There is a
affordable housing,
conference.
They're
they're
building
houses
houses.
in either at or below 80% of the area of median income,
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about affordable housing with a small a, and we say everyone should live in housing that's affordable.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, it already
we
happened.
mean by that is they shouldn't be spending more than 30% of their gross income on housing and utilities. So that's the difference.
Mhm.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, so if you're building housing for the 80%, then 30% of that is the maximum amount that you can charge for rent. If the housing is being built for someone who only meets the 50% median, then it's 30% of that.
Right.
Because their income is lower and.
Yeah, and it's all
The rent
depends
is
on
lower.
family size, just to make it even more confusing.
Yeah, okay, but it is really, so it's two different levels of
Mhm.
ways in which you look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Some areas have it defined down to a third level too, don't they?
Probably.
80%, 50%.
80, 50, and 30.
30. Yep.
Mhm. And then some funding sources allow you to go up to 100%.
Well, and
Because
the
it's
80
still-
30 is what is happening in
Yeah.
the,
Main Street.
no, I was thinking of the Easthampton townhouse. When she came in and talked about. when the
The
planners-
town lodging.
The town
Oh,
lodging.
yeah.
Mhm. That's what she described,
Yeah, yep,
30, 50, 80 for the unit.
yep.
That's kind of the like usual standard.
With the median,
Mhm.
no, with the most number of units would be at 50%. So if you're at 50% of the median income, you would qualify for the affordable housing. But your rent would be set at 30% of whatever your income was.
If that's what that,
If that was.
yes, if that's what their
If
rules
that
are.
was the structure under which
Yeah,
it was.
Yep.
It was built. And in some instances, it might be a different format or formula.
yeah, based on the funding source
Okay,
or other things probably too.
okay.
Okay,
I
so,
understand. Thank you.
yeah, it takes a long time. Do we want to? So we take out 2, do we take out 3 and 4 as well?
And we don't need this because that's already in state law.
Yeah,
And it is defined by the funding source.
Right.
And varies
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you could leave it for, there's another section where it says somewhere that the monitoring agent is the city of Easthampton.
Mhm. Okay, because I have that as the question.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they could designate it to someone else if they didn't want to be the monitoring agent.
Right.
But that's the better way to do it than to name some random nonprofit,
Okay.
which is what used to happen when I worked at CHAPA. They would just name us as the monitoring agent. We'd be like, oh, okay,
Thanks.
thanks. Maybe you should have asked us first. Um,
So this can't be specific to Easthampton because it's already statutorily defined under Mass General laws, right?
and by the funding source.
And-
So like, yeah, so I don't think it really needs to be specific to Easthampton. Because there's, I mean,
Because changes
Even
will
if-
happen at the state level, and then you'd have to change your zoning.
and even if, like, let's just say somebody built an affordable homeownership unit and didn't have any funding, like didn't get any
Mhm.
funding from the state and was just like, I'm gonna build this unit and I'm gonna sell it for $100,000 and I'm gonna put a deed restriction on it.
Oh, the goodness of my heart.
The deed restriction, there's still a process that the city has to go through to get that unit counted on the subsidized housing inventory, which would tell you how to do all of those things. So even if you had no financing,
And
Just to-
yourself.
just to get a deed restriction that met the criteria for the state to add it to our subsidized housing inventory, which is our list of affordable units, you still have to follow those rules. So it seems like any way you shake it, you're gonna have to follow rules. And I think, Lindsay, to your point, the rules could change. So when we
Right.
put it in here,
Mhm.
I mean, like, I don't know that the state says that it has to be 30%, including like parking.
Right.
The parking is getting less and less popular.
Yeah. So I would
So
take
we'll
out
take out
2
2 and 3.
I would take it out.
All right.
So it sounds like this was maybe drafted before some of that other stuff was drafted.
Or we just felt the need to put it in there anyway.
and paste, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
Okay.
Everything's written by groups of citizens that are just trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like,
You can call in my friend Dwight Merriam, who wrote the book on zoning.
okay. Likely people were,
Wrote the book on
likely
zoning.
people were copying other cities zoning. when they were
He's a
writing it.
UMass alum who was a donor, and that's how
Having a
got to
hard
know
time
him.
with like
He was always bragging.
It's confusing.
dealing how to do this. Okay.
Okay,
Back
so
on
design
it.
and
think you're doing
construction I
great.
left.
Okay.
Affordable housing restriction, what did I have that I want to put differently in there? I did have the comment, do we need to change this?
I think we do.
Mhm.
Where are we here? Affordable housing restriction.
Yeah, so there was something in here, hold on. I think it's mostly fine. Oh, so number 4 has this additional preferences, resident selection may only be provided to the extent such preferences are also consistent with applicable law and approved by DHCD. I think we could just cut that. Because it's, unless we want to keep it in there specifically to say, no, we can't always have local preference.
I think we strike it in the spirit of the other changes that we're
Yeah.
making,
Yeah.
that we just take
Okay.
it out.
Okay, because that was the piece I was.
And then people will ask about it, or the developer will mention it, and then again, it's like a conversation, like it
Yeah.
came up for 385 Main Street. It did not come up with Sierra Vista comments that I recall.
Well, and the thing is, right above it, it says such plans shall be consistent with DHCD guidance, subject to approval by DHCD, shall include a preference based on the need for the number of bed, like all of the stuff is there.
Right.
Also, number 3 says DHCDD.
Well,
Is that a different outfit entirely?
I'm sure.
There's also a DHCD.
No, they still call it DHCD.
All right, I think that was all in that.
Selected.
Wait, oh, no, I do have another one. Hold on.
Okay.
I think. Saying waiver. No, I guess not. That was all in the section 7.4. And then we moved down to section 8.34, affordable housing requirements. This is multifamily. I think.
Okay.
That's the section that's multifamily zoning. So in here,
Before you do that, can I ask a
Mhm.
question about?
Of course.
what we're just talking about? So additional preference of residence selection, maybe I said the preferences are also consistent with the law, right, CHCD. I lost my question.
you'll come back.
Sorry.
It's okay. We'll still be here. Yeah, that's how it goes. Let me just see any calculation. Okay. So 8.343 distribution of unit sizes.
What does this say? That the planning board gets to decide
I
the
know,
number of bedrooms? And
I know. That's
whether
why
they're
I was like,
family or elderly?
and this was changed in 2021.
Did it say before?
I don't know. Do we have a copy of what it said before? Jamie does. I know. In her car.
It's in her brain.
head.
Yeah, it's also in her brain. Should I text her? No, I'm just kidding.
She said we could.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know if we want to keep that or get rid of it. Because it does seem, why would the planning board
Application.
make that determination? And why would, and that feels, the other piece about that is occupancy, determination of occupancy characteristics, elderly or
I don't
family.
like that at all. I don't like that at all.
I
Wait a
know.
second. Oh, wait, why was it amended in 2021?
But
That's what
we
you're
just say,
saying.
we don't know. We don't know.
I was on the city council then.
Well, I mean, what happened?
I'm trying to remember, what's the latest.
I mean, maybe it said something worse.
Isn't that just to allow, isn't that just like an administrative thing so that the planning board has the information that they need in order to have the units included in their count of the
I'm gonna look at the minutes.
affordable housing units?
Not that one. That's basically saying that for the project, so someone comes before the planning board for the project.
Yeah,
This says that the planning board gets to decide the distribution of unit sizes, like the number of bedrooms in it, and the distribution determines the occupancy characteristics.
What if it said shall be approved by the planning board?
That could be okay, but I still think we should take out determination of occupancy characteristics. Because that can get you to that place where you're like, no, only 55 plus.
Yeah, and if the developer wasn't proposing a 55 plus development,
Right.
I don't see why the planning board would get to make that decision.
Right.
Special meeting agenda. It was June 16th.
Lindsay's
Yes,
looking up the minutes
21.
from the meeting in 20.
I got him.
The distribution. Wouldn't it have, which committee would it have gone to first though? Anything?
so how would this play out? This would play out in that
Ordinance?
so the developer would come and they would say, I'm gonna build these family units.
Is this
Family units.
10.43?
And the planning board could then say, you
We want more of this
know,
kind.
what we need now. are-
Okay,
We need elderly units. We don't need family units.
okay.
Yeah.
Wait,
Is that bad?
I don't know.
Why is that bad?
I think it
If the
depends on
planning
who's on the planning board.
board- The planning board can say.
Depends on how
Okay.
big.
What does it say?
The planning board is responsible for looking at all of the housing and saying, we have this and we have this and we have this need. Then why wouldn't they be in a position?
I
to
don't
say that
know.
this is-
All right.
wait, I have
That's my
the
job.
notes for that meeting.
Okay, let's
It
find
says
out.
to amend table 5.1, table 10.3, and section 8.3 to allow multifamily dwellings with 15% affordable housing by plan approval rather than special permit. So it used to be by special permit.
Oh, that's the only change. That's what it changed was
Yeah.
by the plan approval.
So just the wording was
Yeah.
Okay.
not corrected in that same correction.
I would say shall be approved by the planning board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Distribution
Because I don't think the planning board,
They wouldn't,
I think Donna, you're giving them too much,
yeah.
I'm not sure they're that strategic. I think they're like, hey, this one did this before me.
Necessarily
Yeah, we like it or
know
not.
what the bids are, unless they've read our housing production plan.
Right, so.
Probably they haven't.
shall be approved.
Well, they approved them.
So shall be made, shall be approved by the planning board.
Yeah, I think we could live with
At the
that.
time of the granting of.
I think, I mean, or strike it, but
Shall be approved by the planning board at the time of granting the plan approved. Isn't that redundant?
Yes.
Like when the planning board grants.
Yeah,
the
can't it
plan
just be say,
approval-
shall be approved at
This
the
was,
time?
this was,
It's also probably trying to keep the developer from making a change later.
well, this was, I think it was also, this was the same meeting where they gave you the right to do ADUs by right rather than special permit. So they were trying to make things not, they were trying to pull things away from the special permit, make things easier.
Great.
And they
Love
also allowed cannabis delivery.
Also, that what?
Cannabis delivery.
But
It was during the pandemic.
But Bunsey just closed, so.
Okay.
that's
So-
I drive by it every day.
Do we want to change, so we'll change the word made to approved? And that feels okay?
I can look at me.
Okay.
Can we change it also to, instead of at the time of granting the plan approval, to something like
Maybe.
as part of the plan approval process? Hold on, it'll come.
It's very wordy, like it just doesn't.
Yes, it is, but not even a grammar thing, like the
Unit
redundancy
sizes
is
and
tough.
Determination. So it's not determination of occupancy characteristics, it's the distribution of the size, the distribution of unit sizes and occupancy characteristics shall be approved by the planning board.
And get rid of at the time.
Or shall be
Take out,
included in the plan.
Take out. at
take
the
out
time.
shall be made.
Shall be included.
The distribution of unit size and the determination of occupancy characteristics shall be approved by the planning board.
Okay, and then take the rest out.
Yeah.
All right,
Well, thanks.
so done. Okay. And then. Okay, at the moment.
I think that this is the part that Jess had a problem with a long time ago, which is about what kind of mortgage.
Yes,
So I think do we want to take it, let me scroll down.
target population. Well,
So it's saying affordable housing units would be purchased by households with income less than 80%. And for whom whole expenditure does not cost, and I think 30% of housing costs. No, that's how it's the sales prices is determined, isn't it? All right, so that's okay.
Shall be calculated based on current available mortgage interest rates.
Never mind, that's not the problem. I think, is it down farther, Jack?
hold on.
This mortgage part isn't the problem.
There was some part that Jess had identified where it talked about what
Mhm.
kind of mortgage the person
Oh.
could get.
Yeah, I don't think
But this is
I'll have
just
to find
talking about, how to set the
Calculate.
sales price,
Mhm.
which is fine.
so,
This is a 30-year,
Yeah, that you want
30-year mortgage term and 10% down payment.
you want the sales price to be set like,
for that,
for
Okay,
that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
yeah, look for the next mortgage.
it doesn't mean that they have to have that specific mortgage, it just means that's how you
Right.
set it. So C is the selection of qualified buyers for affordable units shall be
Oh.
administered by a qualified nonprofit housing agency using criteria per funding source. I think I put that in. And then I was gonna take out the rest. The selection from a pool of prospective buyers meeting the established income guidelines shall be based upon the following criteria. And then I thought we should just take that out because that is also per the funding source.
Yeah.
Right?
well, and like, right, like, we don't, that's, so priority consideration shall be given to households currently not owning a home. Well, what if someone owns a home that's
Exactly,
really
that's why I wanted to
affordable,
take that.
or
Or they got, you know,
It's too big for
knows?
them.
It could be lots of things. They
Right.
could have had a death and can't afford it
Divorce.
now.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
divorce
that-
is actually, if you get divorced, it knocks you back to being considered first-time home buyer.
What if you
Or
were
at
the
least
one
it
who got
did.
the house, though?
Yeah, I don't know if that matters.
I would take out the one, I would just take out one.
So
Yeah.
so C, can I amend it to The selection of qualified buyers for the affordable units shall be administered by a qualified nonprofit housing agency using criteria per state regulations and funding source, or something to that effect.
Yeah, period.
Okay. But does that sentence work for our legal jargon?
And then just take out the highlighted in pink and the other
Mhm.
highlighted in yellow.
Right.
The selection of qualified
You could
buyers.
match the language to the one at
The
the
one
top,
up top, yeah.
whatever we said,
Right,
as
okay.
delineated by blah, blah, blah.
You're cutting the yellow, all the yellow as well?
Yeah, because we
So then
take
you're
care of
taking out-
that.
You're taking out the priority consideration for city residents
Mhm.
here in Easthampton. but-
Because that's per state regulations
Mm.
that we had talked about
Okay.
above. Let me just find
Okay.
where that is so I can copy it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, as delineated by state regulation. Do I even want to put the funding source thing in there or not bother?
I would just say have it match whatever we put up top.
Okay, which was not about the funding source. It was just about,
The reality is there are very few funding sources for affordable homeownership.
Right.
Anyway.
I know. So,
And it's really gonna be about, it's really gonna be dictated by the deed restrictions that the state's gonna force them to use in order to count on the subsidy.
okay, so it now says the selection of qualified buyers for the affordable units shall be administered, it keeps me look at other things, shall be administered by a qualified nonprofit housing agency as delineated by state regulation.
Period. Period.
End of sentence.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Under preservation of affordable housing, I just like, in order to preserve equity and continued affordability, affordable housing units within the development shall be subject to resale controls administered by a qualified housing nonprofit agency. Okay. Affordable housing units shall be subject
I
to
have-
deed restrictions. But then it says under one, at the time of initial sale, the housing authority.
Oh,
But
that's.
why
not right.
does it should say
Thank you.
housing agency. I don't know why we're talking about the housing authority.
They're gonna arrange for real estate appraisal. The housing authority.
Yeah, no, housing authority is not gonna do any of those things.
Okay, so housing agency. Gotcha, that's done.
Okay.
Shall arrange blah, 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 blah. That's just a mistake. Yeah, because further down, it does say housing agency.
Um,
The other piece though, I'll wait till you get there. That I wanted to talk about D, because I feel
Okay.
like that's an issue.
okay, hold on. I don't know why I'm going back to this slide screen because like nobody can see this, but nobody else on here but us. That's fine.
So D
Well, my
says,
recorded.
so basically the way this works is if there's a affordable housing unit, that's a home ownership unit. What has to happen first if people want to sell it is it goes back to whoever did the lottery and they try and find a buyer who fits the housing criteria, the affordability criteria, right? Somebody at the right income level.
Mhm.
So D basically says, if no contract has been entered into with any party at the end of 60 days, meaning a pre-qualified home buyer, then the unit may be offered to the general public at the price determined by the deed restriction.
Mhm.
And I think that's not fair to the homeowner.
That's within the deed restriction. though.
Right, but it's not going to be restricted if it just goes to anybody.
It's still.
So what this is saying though, you can offer it to the general public. And so then somebody who's
It's a
not,
really good deal.
I know it is, but it's not fair.
I don't think regardless of what we put in here, I think that.
Is that the rule?
Mhm.
I just hate that so much because then you
I don't
can't.
even know if that's always the rule. It seems like a short period of time.
So within 60 days, if there's no affordable.
I'm trying to think in my real life, when did this happen, in real life example?
I'm sorry, what's the
60
It's
days?
just like if they aren't able to sell it, find a buyer
Within
at the
60
deed restricted
days.
price.
Oh,
it's
okay,
qualified, then anyone can buy it for this great price in the public.
Okay.
But,
I want one of those.
Right,
I don't know that the deed restriction goes away.
okay.
Like, so the next person's still gonna sell it at the lower.
So the next person isn't gonna profit from it, but they might be able to afford, like to pay full price for the house. But
Right,
who is it?
which was intended for someone of
Right,
modest
the house is
means.
intended for somebody of modest means, so.
I,
And so what I'm saying, and I hear what you're saying, which is,
Yeah,
it's not really our
it's
battle,
not
but
right.
I would love for that person who doesn't have a lot of money, but now has to move and is trying to sell their house to actually benefit from the
Well,
equity.
they
However-
want to move. They don't have to move.
You
Yeah.
don't have to move.
Well, they might
However,
have to move.
I also feel like that would open it up to a lot of fraud.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
you could, find ways to like not get a buyer. If you knew that you were gonna
Well,
make like
it's
a lot
not
more
on,
money.
it's not on the, homeowner to find
Right.
somebody though. It's on Lake Valley CDC
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah. It's still just,
Somehow that were for fraud, somebody would buy it.
no, wouldn't buy it. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
trying to
like, I'm just saying if you
make
can
it
wind
buy
those
it.
60 days off. The
Yeah,
60 days could be because the agency didn't do their job. I don't know. It
Right.
just,
so whatever, so somebody comes along and they buy it and they're not necessarily a qualified buyer, but they buy the house. And then they want to sell it, they can remove the deed restriction.
But I don't think
can't
this,
remove the.
We don't
I
think
don't
they
think
can.
this removes the deed restriction.
That's the
I think
question I
it ju-
have.
But the deed restriction only lasts for a certain length of time, right? 50 years or.
99 years.
It depends on the deed restriction.
I could try to find out.
Yeah, so I just
Text Mary.
wanted to put that up there as something to think about. Because I've always felt like that's the thing, like for many of us who buy houses not through this kind of a process, we get to benefit from the equity in our house. If you're a poor person and you're buying a house that's deed restricted, you can never really, you'll get a little bit of equity, but
Right.
not the same. It's not the same, and that feels unfair to me. It's like we're keeping people poor.
Why aren't you getting equity if you're paying your mortgage?
You're going to, because the value of your house does not go up like
It's not
it
gonna
does.
stay with the market.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on market.
That was part of the reason why, community builders didn't do homeownership units at that site.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to,
Mm-hmm.
and then because of this, they felt like, they just felt like it wasn't.
Yeah,
It
it's
fit
better,
within their
it's better
value as
just,
an organization
Right,
yeah,
to like
right.
restrict equity.
it's better just to help them get in the house. Giving people down payments or whatever and.
Yeah.
And things, and then they just have the house that can have equity.
Right, well, I can try to find out, but I think that the deed restriction doesn't go away. So the
Okay.
buyer buys it at the reduced price, they're not income eligible. Now they have a deed restricted
Yeah.
property, they're not gonna
Okay.
be able to
Yeah.
sell it.
Yeah.
But I can double check.
Gotcha. Okay, so that one will
But
keep
when
in
they
there
pass
as a
the
question.
deed, what prevents them from removing the
They
deed?
can't.
They
They
can't.
can't, because it's deed restricted for
Restricted.
however, it's on the property, the deed restriction's on the property
So they can't remove it. There's
until
no
it
out.
expires.
It's like a copyright. Like 75 years.
Yeah.
Unless your lender doesn't do a title search, in which case then that is what happens and then you get in big trouble because that happens all the time. Or it did during the like subprime
Oh, I bet.
era.
That makes
People would
sense.
sell their
Yeah.
affordable units for like $600,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They're like, well, nobody noticed that there was a deed restriction on it. I'm like, well, did they do a title search? No.
My finger.
It's a good point, Jackie. I mean, there's a lot of programs that keep people poor, like
Well, now we have several.
rent
Here,
subsidy.
take one.
Then as soon as you make a little more money, they like, you just, I don't know, it's like you can never get ahead.
Anyway, so it's
All right, is that-
probably a moot point.
Is that the end of your
agree
thing?
with you.
I don't know.
I don't think we get.
It is. I think so.
There's another section about affordable housing.
Oh, yeah.
In the planned unit residential development section.
Right, so I just wanted to point
It's like,
out,
it's a redundant, it's the same section.
yeah, the building section should probably back. And we were talking about whether the planned unit development thing ever actually.
Where does it go? Oh,
I know.
it's just video.
I'm reminded by Jamie saying,
You look
you're
great.
never gonna fix everything that's
I know.
inherent in the zoning, so don't get
I'm just
all
hoping you're-
wrapped into fixing
Or
everything.
what?
Your- Your image on the screen.
So I
You
will,
look great. Nothing's on your butt. These are.
I can go through the,
I know, it's a good.
I might just.
isn't it so good?
Sounds good.
Okay,
And
let's see
fix colors.
Um,
Just eating.
Fries.
Nobody else here but us.
Okay.
All the people that watch us. They're good.
So let me save the changes and I will go back to the plan.
Watching people eat pink.
Make sure.
All right.
Okay, now back to our regularly scheduled business.
Okay, so now back to the other things we have to decide.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna skip around to things that are easy before we dive into things that are more difficult. Okay, so change to the definition of family in the zoning ordinance. We talked about using Medfords, all the people who occupy a single housing unit regardless of their relationship to one another.
I believe we agreed on that.
I'm just confirming we agreed. Yes,
We agreed on that, yeah.
okay, all right. Done. Great. Community character chart. Did everybody take a look at what I sent? You want me to put it up?
Yes.
Yeah, I missed this email entirely until today.
Oh, geez, Shira.
I know.
This was a lot too. There's a lot in there.
I'm having,
It's,
I have to like double click.
oh,
Okay. Wait. I'm gonna share my screen for the people at home. who Might want to see what we're doing.
go back to Chrome tab. Yes, click the Gmail icon, agenda and recap. Cause,
Oh,
cause it's
it.
open like from the
Yeah,
email.
Thank you.
If
Okay.
you click the print button though, I think it'll bring you to more.
Well, look at you.
And we assume people at home can see it this way.
Click the meet button tab.
You can also just make it bigger.
No.
Mm,
Let me, can I make it bigger?
Is it
Yeah.
better this
Oh, yeah,
way
here.
or
Yeah.
like this?
That's what it was.
Good Lord. Okay. Okay. Friends at home can see it like that, but I'm gonna show it to you like this because otherwise I can't read it. I think they can see me scrolling. Okay. So some of these are like pretty boring, right? So this is about home modification, home occupation, the def like. I'm just gonna go through it quickly.
Yeah.
We agreed to strike it here. Because it doesn't add any particular value. It already talks about all the things you're not supposed to do. Building size cap, I replaced it with to encourage new retail development that enhances the city's primary commercial zones. So it just basically takes out the word character.
what did it say? District character?
Yeah, which I don't know what that means.
Right down my street, there's everything.
You have
That's like
district character?
most
Mhm.
streets. Next one has to do with wireless communications. It basically has to do, I think has to do with like, you know, when you put up a tower. So replace with, minimize adverse impacts on adjacent properties, residential neighborhoods, and the overall environmental and visual quality of neighborhoods in the city of Easthampton instead of visual character of the
Okay.
city.
Yeah, I like that.
Improve.
Striking it here under, again, wireless services districts. Okay, smart growth zoning overlay.
Yeah, it already says unobtrusive.
Exactly, like it already says unobtrusive, it already says like,
I mean,
All the-
unobtrusive
all the
could be
words.
visually or physically, right? It's already covered.
Right.
smart growth. To create, originally says to create affordable housing that is consistent with the character of Easthampton's existing neighborhoods. So I suggested replace it with to create affordable housing consistent with the architectural style of existing neighborhoods to the extent feasible.
Great.
Because it's not always feasible for it to look like the neighborhood, and sometimes the neighborhood does not have a consistent
No, definitely.
look.
Yeah, well, sometimes it doesn't have a good look, so why keep it?
Why keep it? Okay, my formatting is looking wonky here, but this I was gonna leave, didn't seem offensive. This is about multifamily housing. Originally says building design should consider the prevailing character and scale of buildings in the neighborhood. I'm suggesting building design should consider the scale of buildings in the neighborhood and just take
Yeah.
out prevailing character.
Because that doesn't mean anything.
It's really about like, does the building look like the other buildings? Is it the same size? Not. Accessory dwelling units. Again, it's protecting the residential character. I'm suggesting we replace it with architectural design of the neighboring buildings to the extent feasible by ensuring that it is created in accordance with this ordinance.
Mhm.
This is the planned unit residential development, which we think no one ever uses. I'm suggesting we strike out where it says rural character.
Yeah.
And just say traditional New England and land use patterns.
Which small villages? Are adjacent to common open space.
Which we don't,
Oh, like Hadley.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Well, it says which small villages are adjacent to common open space.
Yeah. We don't, well, that's like the downtown.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's about it.
Character and
Cemetery.
land use
The
pattern.
farm.
space.
What?
This one I'm suggesting to put historic nature instead of historic character. I don't know. Now that I'm saying that out loud, nature sounds kind of weird, but
Let's see. Hold on.
Let's
Let's read it aloud.
To maintain the
Go ahead,
historic
Jackie.
nature and mix.
Donna's doing it.
Donna's on it.
Yeah, development of the downtown business district shall consider the preservation and reuse of existing buildings in order to maintain the historic nature and mix of uses in the district.
How about characteristics?
okay.
Yeah,
Why not just in order to maintain the history and mix of uses in the district?
We could do history.
History and now.
Or just take out the historic character and just order to maintain the mix of uses.
Oh, that's true. I could do that. I can't edit this while I'm showing it. Right, sounds.
business.
8.88.
Existing buildings.
To maintain
The
the,
prevailing mix of uses in the district.
But this is about reusing existing buildings.
It's about preservation
Yeah.
and development.
So maybe we want to maintain the history.
but prevailing is another way of saying
Historic.
historic.
Right.
Development in the downtown business district shall consider reusing existing buildings in order to maintain
Village shall consider the preservation and reuse of existing
the
buildings.
historic
in order to
character,
maintain the historic look and mix of uses in the district.
properties.
Architecture,
Well, that's
I
what
think
it
I like characteristics
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah,
characteristics is better than character.
yeah, historic.
Let me get my Google
Visage.
thesaurus.
What?
Yeah, I mean, you could just have the
That's
historic look and
ChatGPT.
mix of uses in the district.
Define visage.
I'm trying to like get to the heart of it in my mind. Like, why do we really want people to reuse the building?
The
Think about
surface
it.
of an object presented to view.
Like back up a
The
second, like, why do-
building that's already there is just because then it looks the same.
Right.
That's it. We want to keep it the same. We don't want to change it.
I guess like a use case is like thinking about the
Attributes.
elementaries.
Properties.
Right, we want them to still look like the
I like
building.
attributes
Yeah.
or properties. Historic attributes.
You're like the only one.
If we use the word property, that's gonna.
Well, that's what the new one over there.
Definition
Actually, I like when they
too,
kind of make
which might be
that
confusing.
modern
Yeah.
use with historic. I like that.
I like
What do you think
attributes.
about historic attributes?
I like historic attributes.
To maintain some historic attributes and
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the heart of it, like I was just in the Sullivan Building and on New South Street, and it is cool to be in there, and like my mother-in-law went to school there, elementary school. And now it's,
There's something to be said for.
yes, I think, but I like kind of just history
Mhm.
more than the actual, because it's not, to me, it's not like the physical so much, it's like,
Maintain the history and mix history.
It doesn't work though.
Okay.
It's talking
we'll say two
specifically
different
about
things.
yeah.
One is talking about the building itself and one is talking about the use in the district. So maybe you just separate those two out. Maybe just,
I like attributes, historic attributes.
Yeah.
preservation and reuse of.
historic attributes are gonna be like the shop faces and in the interior, if there's wainscoting.
It's like when they redeveloped the Button Building and it,
Mhm.
from the Landry furniture, right? Like, and they put windows back in. And like,
Landry furniture, go out of business sale.
I got
Every-
my first.
every
count
I
year.
thought that store was called going out of business.
I'm not going out of business sale for like the first.
remember it had no windows, all the
Oh
windows
yeah,
were
like
boarded
blue
up?
boards or that.
And then it was a haunted house.
Mhm.
And then it turned into a beautiful building.
Which one is the button?
It's like next to the Easthampton Diner.
Oh, yeah, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, between that and.
Is there a fridge out there?
Yeah, his characteristic.
Is that little, because I'm just thinking, should I put the cheese in the fridge?
No, it's
It's
fine.
fine.
I think it's fine.
It's air conditioned.
Just
in
feels
here.
hot to me.
Just wondering.
He says it's fine.
It's not sweating, so it's okay.
Okay.
It starts to.
All right, let's go on. It's 7:10. We have more things to decide.
Is there more on this chart?
Yeah, characteristics.
Yeah, historic characteristics.
Yeah.
What attributes have over the other?
All right, I'll pick one. All right, okay, striking that one because it's basically telling you all the things it wants it to do and then this has no,
Nothing.
Nothing.
Useful.
again, striking this because it talks about all the things. It doesn't, I took striking it. This one I said to leave as is because it says rural, historic, and agricultural character. So it's specific about what it's talking about.
Yeah.
Aesthetic.
You say you want, did you
Well,
say you
the
want to
historic
take that?
character.
No, I was gonna leave this one because it's
Okay.
specific
Okay.
about what it's talking about. This one,
Work
strike.
search.
It's about home occupations. Same thing. It's basically saying all the things you can't do. So you don't need to put residential character. This is the same. It's home occupations minor and home occupations major. This is about, these are design standards. So I was suggesting we strike it out of the first sentence, but in this, the fourth sentence, replaced with the planning board may take into consideration whether exterior building facades and materials are consistent with other buildings in the city of Easthampton instead of with Easthampton's character. And then in the sixth sentence, for example, the planning board may consider whether the roof line is peaked or is otherwise consistent with other building styles in the city of Easthampton instead of with the city's character. So like, does it look like the buildings around it versus does it match our character?
We used to have a porn theater in the downtown. Match that character.
Go back up a little.
Yeah.
That was a big,
Where
that was
the
a big
medical
old theater. It was a porn theater.
Facades.
Before it was vaudeville. I was-
As opposed to
vaudeville.
interior facades.
Now you have to go to check it.
Well, I think the internet killed the business for movie theater porn.
Yeah.
We digress.
All this like extra words
It is a lot of extra words.
killing me. The planning board may consider whether facades and materials are consistent with.
So they could say like, we don't want you to have a brick building. We think you should
She
have.
was just trying to make it editorially nicer.
It was just bothering me. I know we're not gonna go
We
through every
can't
one of
get
those changes, but
sidetracked.
no. 1 second, go up. Okay, stop. Whether it's materials are
One
consistent
thing
with
we, now
other
that we're gonna
buildings.
spend so much time with,
Sure, that's fine.
when we were revising the, just the ordinances for the city, not the zoning ordinance, the regular ones. One of the things we discussed was accessibility and just how like the language is so inaccessible. Like you're actually, they're like, oh, you can go look at the zoning board and you go read it and you're like, well, I have no idea what it's.
All right, this is about cannabis establishments. I'm suggesting we strike it. So it would say zoning will create a place for the public. The zoning will create a place for the public to responsibly have access to legal cannabis while mitigating community impact. So it takes out the part about
Yeah,
character.
there's no need for it there.
Also, again, under cannabis, taking it out here, replacing it, with some, this is about like artificial screening. So just that it's consistent with the neighborhood as opposed to being out of character with the neighborhood.
Something to a vegetated screen.
Yeah, it's about like if you can't, I
You're
don't
not supposed to see inside.
Yeah,
know.
it has to be vegetated.
I don't know.
Like, better questions.
I guess it's saying if you have any artificial
Oh.
screening devices erected, then it should like look,
If it's outside.
it should look like the rest of the neighborhood.
Most of them just have like a vestibule.
And then this part,
Yeah,
Not
this
that
is-
you would know.
I'm just striking it.
Not that I've taken a tour of all of them.
All right. Are we good?
I think it's perfect.
I love it,
That's great.
except for the nature, we'll figure that out.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, so that
Done.
one
It's done.
is done.
I don't want to have this. Okay.
And the next one,
Let's go to parking.
okay.
Because we talked a whole lot about parking last time and we did not make a decision.
I feel like we mainly agreed to condense some of these different, on that chart you just had up.
Yeah, I'm trying to share it
Okay.
for our viewers at home.
Okay, so 8 and 9, I think we were trying to combine those to be the same, you know, and
So
have
this
1.5.
This is, just remind everybody, table 7-6 is the off-street parking in the 40R district.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
table 10-3 is all other multifamily housing
Gotcha.
that is not in the 40R district. So you will notice that the 40R district has relatively low
Okay.
standards, right? It's just
So
one for
we're-
each unit.
Okay. Thing that I was just listening to this meeting yesterday to get the minutes done. I think on table 10.3, what it sounded to me like we had agreed on was that conversion of existing
Oh, yes, and then there's also
Conversion of
this one.
existing multifamily housing and then multifamily housing with 15% affordable should all have the 1.5 spaces per unit. This may be reduced to an average of 1 per unit based on the unit mix and project location.
That's what,
So
and they should both be the same.
there should, all 3 of them should be the same.
This one, so 40R and then multifamily.
Well, and so conversion of existing one-family dwelling, multifamily
Oh,
housing.
these
Yeah, those 3.
and 10-3. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to mess with the
Yeah, no,
40R district
we're
because
not
that
gonna do 4ER.
will be, I think, more complicated.
But I think
Here's
what we
throwing
had,
food at her.
I think
iPad.
what we agreed was for any kind of multifamily housing, which is what all those 3 different cells are,
Right.
that we would use the definition or the parking, minimum number of parking spaces.
It's the same, consistent.
Right, and it's the last one, 1.5 spaces per unit, which may be reduced to an average of 1 per unit based on unit mix and project location.
And no, nothing about visitor spaces.
Right.
So Kayam's comments, because I need to tell you because he's not
Okay,
here,
good.
was that he supported less than or equal to 1 space per unit and 5 visitor spaces for every 10 units.
5 visitors.
Say that one more time.
Less than or equal to 1 space per unit and 5 visitor spaces for every 2 units. This, I mean, every 10 units.
But this is
This
for
has
one,
1 for every 10
but
units.
isn't this? Oh, it's the oh, I see, the bottom one is for
Yeah.
more than 3
And
and
the
4
visitor
families.
spaces could be used by
People
residents
who
as
live,
well.
yeah. You only have 1,
So it's basically the same thing, except then if it's 1.5, if there's 10 units, it's 1.5 per unit. But they're just not assigned.
The 1.5 wouldn't be assigned.
So
to
one
one
space,
person, even
one
assigned
parking
to
space
four.
assigned per unit, and then there are other spaces. So that if somebody has 2 cars, they use 1 of those spaces, and somebody without a car, there's an extra space.
Sure,
Hmm.
but they wouldn't be assigned anyways if it was 1.5, because you can't assign a 0.5.
Right.
he also sent me like this funny graphic of like how parking is terrible. Which I can't see in my vicious cycle of parking requirements. New development is required to build parking. The space is meant for people allocated. The space meant for people is allocated to cars regardless of demand. People are pushed to live in an auto-centric lifestyle. Lack of choice is mistaken for demand. Alternate methods of transportation are underinvested. And mass auto-centric design leads to legal requirements for parking, and then it just,
We should be legal requirements for bus stops and increasing public transportation. rather than parking.
That'd be nice.
Let's just write that in.
I don't have a very strong feeling. I kind of like I like the 1 unit for each bedroom. I'm not drawn to the 1.5.
Per unit.
Yeah, but
You like 1 for each bedroom?
But what
I like, oh no, not for each
No, I
bedroom.
was like, what
No,
did
no,
you say?
Oh, you're right. See, but, right.
The green part says bedroom,
No, I don't
See,
want
and
for
that's
bedroom,
why-
bad.
which I
So-
think is terrible.
It gives you leeway. So if you have 1.5 spaces per unit, but it can be reduced to an average of 1 per unit based on unit mix and project.
Yeah, I feel like they just
Do we want to put anything about visitors? or just leave that out?
Wait, what was Kim's?
He liked less than one or equal to one space per unit
Per unit, not
with
per bedroom.
5, right,
And
5 visitor spaces for every 10 units. That seems like a lot of visitor spaces.
Are you sure they said?
But that means you have to have 10 units.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, when you're thinking, it's a lot different when you're talking about a 2, 3, 4.
That's what he
versus a-
said.
Or you don't need visitor spaces until you get to 10 units.
Spaces for 10.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you've got 8 units, you have 8 parking spaces.
Or, I thought it was 1 to 10 was,
Is the
I
minimum
thought that's
number.
what you guys told me last month, was that like 1 through 10 would be this additional space.
Mm.
And then 11 through 20 is the second space.
I think that's true.
That's.
Well, obviously not 1, because you have to have 3 to be a
Oh,
multifamily, but
Right.
so like 3 through 10 would be a
Right,
visitor
so if you have
space,
8 units, you have 8 parking spaces plus 1 visitor space.
according to this, yeah.
Right.
Well, let's come to some sort of conclusion. What,
Everyone should go around and say what they want.
Well, what,
you
you
said
you prefer 1 to 1.5? What, tell me why again?
I don't know. I just like the one matches the 40-yard district.
Okay.
I like consistency,
mhm.
but I also like visitor spaces. Like I like
the 1.5 because I feel like they just, I don't have a strong feeling though. It's just-
I like the 1.5 because I like, every 2 units has like a built-in visitor space.
And it may be reduced to an average of 1, so
Right,
I like that.
yeah.
Just maybe reduce to an average of 1 per unit.
So a duplex converting
Yeah.
an existing 1-family dwelling to a 2-family is 2. For the 80 years, 1 per dwelling.
This is a dog or a sheet?
the sheet. I was trying to. I don't have editing power. That's why I was trying to highlight this. All right. So it sounds like people like 1.5 spaces per unit. This may be reduced to an average of 1 per unit based on unit mix and project location. Is that what everyone's saying?
Mhm.
But if it's reduced to an average of 1 per unit, then I'd want to see some, then I like the additional visitor space.
Well, then maybe we should add a visitor, maybe plus 1 additional visitor space for every 10 units.
Right,
Combine
so-
them.
1 for each unit.
So,
Yeah, I definitely think
additional
those
space.
2 rows 9 and 10 should be combined.
yeah,
Yeah, I think good.
yep, 8, 9, and 10.
Oh, yeah, 8, 9.
Right, and it should be the same. So if you've got.
Right.
Yep.
You've got a conversion of a 1-family to 3.
Okay, so
4-family dwelling.
are we agreed on 1.5 spaces per unit? I'm putting it in the
Yeah.
minutes per unit. This may be reduced. And then plus 1 additional visitor space. Right?
Yeah.
Additional
Per 10 units.
visitor per 10 units.
And that's just the minimum, right? So you could
It's 1 to 10.
ask for more. This is just the minimum.
Yeah.
So if not saying the developer couldn't say, well, I really want to have more parking.
Right.
Right, so if it's not affordable
Yeah.
housing,
Right, there's space and there's not near public transportation, they can make a good argument for more parking.
Right.
they don't even have to make the argument, they could just put the plan and say. here's
Yep,
what we're doing.
we want more parking,
Yeah.
but this is
Because
the
they've
minimum.
met the minimum.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right. So,
So you won't be denied on that basis.
Okay,
okay.
Okay.
look at us making decisions. All right.
Do you want edit capabilities?
No, Jackie read it. Sorry. All right, let's do, okay, so if we do the cap on units per building, then the only thing we have left to do is talk about the zoning changes, which feels complicated, but it's maybe not. So let's do cap on units per building. We don't have anything to show anyone, so they can just look at us. So currently, it's 18 units per building, which just seems like an I think it's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of an arbitrary number. If we recall, which I don't have it up there, but there is also something about the height of the building, which in a lot of ways,
It's no more than 6 stories or 90 feet.
something like that, which already limits how tall the building can be or how big the building can be.
Somebody that's-
And Jamie reminded us not to stress out about like picking the perfect number, just picking number, because 18 was an arbitrary number.
So let's say show 18 then.
It's too small
Okay.
It doesn't work.
because
For the fund
Developer.
For the developers. I
Developers
remember.
turn away.
so for low income housing tax credit property, I think Jeff said you have to have at least 20 in the building,
22?
20, some number in the 20s in the
Yeah.
building. And
So you can get away with it if you do a 40B project, though. You can change it if you're
you
doing a
can,
40B.
or you could get 2 buildings. So,
Right,
right. So like in order for
like Sierra Vista is doing.
town lodging, in order for it to work, they had to put another building on the site because just the one building didn't have enough units. And then Frank said, what did he say? 26 was for the, like, good for, there's the cost of the elevator.
Right.
So there was like a number that like made putting the elevator in like feel.
It like
cost-effective.
flattened out the per unit cost.
I think even if it's 2 stories,
I don't know.
I don't know that rule, but it seems like
This
most
is something like the
buildings have
per unit cost for the elevator flattened out at like, I think it was 24 units. But I only talked to Frank about it, not other people.
So I was thinking about that in terms of, so right now it's 18, which if it's 3 floors, that's 6 units per floor. 6 feet, that's 3 units per floor. But if you did it, if you added another 6 units and you went to 24, then you've got 8 units per floor on a 3-floor building. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can have a hallway coming in with central area with 4 clumps of units all the way up. You could do, so that's one way that I was thinking about the 24. The other thing I thought about was doubling it. So from 16 to 32, and then you have, like 6 on the front, 6 on the back, or 6 on the side, 6 on the side, straight up.
Yeah, and it's always going to depend on the shape of the lot and how much of it you can build on,
Right,
too.
right,
But we had also talked last week about
right. And so
lower area
whether you
ratio,
spread out,
building
whether you
lot coverage, talking about a
Right.
percentage instead of a unit cap.
but
You laughing at me?
18 I
Great.
thought was kind of funny because how do you do 18? You do 9 and 9, you do 6 and 6 and 6. And then
It's an arbitrary number.
split up, you know, it's like,
Exactly.
just trying to visualize
Yeah.
what that looks like on the interior.
Yeah, I don't know where 18 came from, and I had done research to see what it said before, and it was a much lower number, but there was nothing in those notes from 1994 about why they chose 18.
Mhm.
And all the other cities I looked at all do percentages. I mean,
So tell us
it's
what that,
all like
what
4
does that,
cities.
what does that sound like? What percentage of what?
Um,
That's what I was trying to
lot
understand
coverage.
before.
It was like a percentage of lot coverage.
So how?
Which is sort of already-
Write that.
already determined based on like the setbacks, right? So
Yeah.
that's a reason to
Right.
just get rid of the cap to begin with, because you already have setbacks and you already have a building height limit. And so if you just got rid of it, then the developer could determine, well, on this property, based on these setbacks and what I want my building to look like, if I can't go higher than whatever it is, 90 feet, I could put 22 units, or I could put 14 units, or I could, you know, like
That's true.
that's the argument to just take out the number,
Mm-hmm.
because there's all these other things
So-
that
And all
restrict it.
this time, I never considered that. I only
We
did
can
research
ask
on what
for
other
that.
cities were doing.
Like Jamie said, ask for the things you want and not everything's gonna happen.
Right.
I say that we ask for them to remove the cap, because like you said, it's already capped a million other things anyway.
So what's the downside
they're
of
not-
having no cap? You get a developer that comes in and says, I mean, they're already restricted in terms of size of the unit, or can people come in and say, well, I'm gonna make 25 units and they're just gonna be, 600 square feet?
I'm sure the building inspector has, like, there has to be a specific, you can't have less than some amount of square feet.
But you could build all studios.
Yes,
You could build all studios
could.
at 600 square feet, as long as
Yeah.
they had all the things they have to have.
Mhm.
I think so.
Is this for new buildings?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why like the, old one has the more.
Well, and the mill district is like,
Has
So
its
this
own
is just in
thing.
the
has its own, no, but the mill district there's like specifically not a lot of restrictions in the mill district. And
So that we could revitalize it?
yes,
We have more than 18 in our building in Eastworks.
but that was a reuse.
Right,
Yeah.
it's different. It's not new construction.
Which again, it goes back to like Chaim and Ben's work that like we had zoning and then we like made all these things to make it
Right.
the building, the houses had to be bigger, they have to be set back more, and you know.
But that's not what the existing zoning looks like at all.
No,
Right.
Like
it
the
was
existing
like, it was
neighborhood.
aspirational.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree that, I mean, it's gonna be limited by the plan, the lot size, the height.
Mhm.
Um,
And they're gonna have to come before some board anyway to get the plan approved.
And even if you were gonna do a 40B development, the likelihood, which could happen now, that you're gonna build a 100-story building in Easthampton is like incredibly unlikely, right? And there'd probably be like health and safety reasons why the zoning board wouldn't approve that. So I feel like there's all these other things
Mhm.
that,
guardrails.
yeah, that impose things, and the 18 unit cap just like makes it harder.
Right.
So the 18 unit cap was for some other reason. The 18
We don't
unit
know
cap was.
what reason.
It probably was to, prevent giant buildings, but the reality is that there's all these other things that prevent the giant building.
Right.
Right, or to prevent apartment complexes,
Yeah.
to preserve the rural nature of city.
Mhm.
But since 1965, you can do a chapter 40B development, so that always
Right.
existed to override local zoning to build multifamily housing.
Mhm.
Well, I know we could just say like 36 and kind of word down at
In
the
my head.
best.
Yeah, we could just pick another number.
It's like,
Hang on. I feel
kind
like
of will
so
restrict the.
if we want to propose getting rid of the cap, we need to write up our rationale. That's the word
Yeah.
for that.
Do that.
So you can do that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Shira
When's the
says
due
she'll do
date
that.
then?
We have to write up all these other things.
We actually just said it.
Yeah, and I wrote,
There- that
Yep.
It's unnecessary because there are already restrictions.
You're
The
off.
size of the land,
Talk to myself.
unit size, occupancy rates,
Mhm.
or occupancy.
I think you would want to note the other parts where it
right.
limits the
Limits
height.
us. Yep.
Is this affecting the, Main Street development?
They're a 40B, they're
Oh,
already
so
have,
right, if you're 40B.
they already have 40 units per building or something,
Right.
30, no, what is it?
That's right. So this-
87 total
So this
units.
is more for like,
Three
Market
units,
rate.
3 buildings.
Yeah, or if you don't want to do a 40B, maybe you're doing like a smaller scale project and you don't need a 40B.
So we have height restrictions.
Yep.
And setbacks.
Setbacks.
And, I said something else.
You could email Jess and ask
Restrictions on the.
her to give you her
floor
rationale.
space
She had a whole, like,
Yeah, like the health and safety kind
water
of.
sewer, and like all the
They
infrastructure.
know
Do we
that
have
stuff anyway.
building lot coverage regulation cap?
Well, we have setbacks, like it has to be X amount from the street and X amount from your neighbors and X amount from wetlands and X amount from,
We don't have like a percentage of the lot?
I don't know. In the plains they do, in the aquifer, there's a percentage of, on the lot
Percentage of lot?
for having pervious,
Yeah, surfaces.
surfaces, because that's where the
All
water.
right, moving on.
All right, we're good? We're moving on.
We're gonna recommend removing the cap. Shira's gonna write up a rationale based on what's already existing in the zoning around height limits, setbacks, any other stuff that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, lightning has been detected.
Are you getting double notifications?
is 911 working?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay, that's how it goes.
I got 42
Other day was
notifications
like
about that.
advisory 911, heat advisory 911.
I know, and then like, I kept getting emails from work, 911's not working, I'm like, you don't know. Okay,
Last piece, which is, okay, time and bed zoning changes.
Okay,
I have
so those are mostly setback and lot size.
admittedly have a hard time, like, this, yeah, I don't want to look at this. It has to do with setbacks and lot sizes, but Chaim said that it still might need some work because it's not necessarily matched to the analysis in the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay,
So the plan is to use the PowerPoint presentation. Did everyone see the PowerPoint presentation?
When they first presented it.
Yeah.
When I first did it.
do we have,
To use
is
the
that
PowerPoint
somewhere
to
that we
drive
can
the
all
changes?
access?
I emailed it to you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
It's in an email on June 10th,
Okay.
which I opened today on June 20th.
I'll share it for our friends at home.
A very nice presentation.
Sure. Next time you go, these are from Costco?
Yeah.
Get you a box?
Yes, please. Okay. Yeah.
I
They
love
have them at
Costco. I'm
BJ's.
so I should not go there because I'm always like, look at this, somebody buy that. Oh,
I know.
it's a fun snack.
Every
time
time,
BJ's.
I spent
BJ's and
$450.
every time Brand says, what I think from Costco, I'm like, Aussie Bites and those mozzarella balls. They're like a package of like 3 little mozzarella balls. It's a good snack.
The idea, because I was having a hard time trying to figure out how this is like to use the PowerPoint to like explain what the changes that they want to make.
Mhm.
So I'm going to propose that we not really dive into this, but we just consider whether or not we want to adopt whatever kind of Ben are proposing, which basically had to do with like making it easier to do duplexes by right. And some other
I
changes.
like how they were allowing, I remember, different businesses in the residential neighborhoods.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember liking that.
Yeah,
It's-
because it kind of, it contributes to not being so dependent on cars.
Right.
Mhm.
Be able to like go to a little neighborhood grocery and
Yeah.
coffee.
So I think if we are generally in agreement with what they're proposing, that we just tell them to like make it, fix it up.
Mhm.
And do whatever it is that they want to do with it.
Right.
Because it's the thing, it's complicated. I don't want to go through the whole zoning. It's a little chart, right? It has like the P, it's just,
Oh, yes.
but it's basically
Remember.
making it easier to build more things like by right. So it's duplexes,
In residential areas.
Yeah.
Really reducing frontage.
maybe.
Yeah, this was when,
Now you're
where
gonna make me
where
to
I
open
came
it.
in, they were just starting to
Look at that.
look at this and talking about that. I remember them talking about ADUs as of right. And,
Remember, it was like your first meeting.
Yeah.
ADUs as of right is already a thing,
Mhm. Getting it by right.
but
it's a thing.
you can already do it.
It's already been approved.
In 2021 and June
Oh, okay.
16th, as a matter of fact.
So what were they
And
talking about?
cannabis delivery.
Were they talking about making some change to that then?
Hold on, it's in a chart, which
It's
is
a blur to
Has
me in that
somewhere.
first meeting.
Mhm.
What?
okay, so
I know,
Um,
this is the most complicated stuff we have.
this is very so this is duplex, right? So it's making it, what does
But
the P
complicated.
mean?
And I keep getting like, I'm reading something. that-
Oh, permitted
Look at
use
this,
by
I'm
right.
gonna
So
go
by
start
making
looking at that.
duplex
Right.
permitted use by right in every district. So currently it was by special permit in R35 and then not allowed in R40 and R80. So it would be making the duplex,
So what's our 80?
oh, I don't know.
Residential, rural, aquifer.
That the zoning map is.
Aquifer.
That could be-
Aquifer,
R80 could be
Hendricks.
the plains.
aquifer till area.
And so then
Conversion. Yeah. that-
conversion of existing one family, this is all jumbled. I'm gonna have to try to open it. Hold on.
Oh,
I'm having trouble getting things to download.
download these files at your own risk. Yeah, we were trying to. You're not letting us. Or click it again and try the print trick. Maybe that'll work.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah, open that and
I know.
You're right, because it was like garbling it up and I don't want it to do that.
it was-
Oh, here we go.
We don't want to garble.
Now it
We
downloaded.
do want to cook.
All right, let me go back up here.
Garble these cookies.
I went to this. Terrible charts.
Yeah, it is.
That was the thing about convenience.
I don't eat
stores.
gluten.
Oh.
Okay, so duplex,
I'm good.
Like,
My husband makes these gluten free.
No, thank you.
The Aussie bike thing.
This is still garbled. I don't know why, but conversion of existing one families
They're gluten free.
to two families instead of being by special permit by right in all districts. Convenience markets, oh, they weren't allowed at all, so as letting them be by special
Oh, right.
permits.
I remember.
Same with supermarkets,
Love it, love it,
bakery,
Delis,
delis,
yeah.
butchers, fish markets.
Yes.
They really are going for it.
love it. Reach for the stars. You land on the moon, right? Something like that.
Wait a second, so they're saying that they should not be?
No, it should be.
They weren't allowed at
They weren't
all.
allowed.
But allowed by
That's
special.
another sign, yeah.
Now we're
special
still-
Somebody
Now they
wanted to
are,
put a
and then we
bodega.
They would be
At
With the
Strong and
change,
Henry.
they'd be allowed by a special permit.
No, but, well, yeah, when I was 4. I lived there when I was 4.
So this is adding in duplex to match that of single family in terms of frontage and area square feet.
What is, in terms,
This is from R5.
area square feet of what?
You have to
Oh,
have 5,000 square feet
Of land.
of land to build
to build.
a single family.
Okay,
And this is
Thank you.
saying you could build a duplex on that same,
okay.
it's basically, I think this just matches allowing duplexes.
And it, because it wasn't in R5 before.
I guess not.
Okay.
And it was in R10, but it said 10,000 squeak, so it's matching.
So is it duplex just two or is it the side by side?
It's just 2 units, could be
It
up
could
and
be.
down or side by side.
It's interesting because in real estate, we it's like multi-family, with a two family,
A duplex would be side by
side by
side.
side.
Yeah, that's how I would think of it.
Should be more consistent.
So it's basically changing it to match the single family requirements in each district. So in R35, you need 35,000 square feet. Same for duplex, same for the side.
Makes sense to me.
This is R40. I don't know if they struck that or that was struck already. That was probably already struck. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I think their changes are in red.
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it.
Mhm.
So I'm typing in the minutes that we agreed that we would let Chaim and Ben finish this up.
Yeah, but that we agree with it.
We agreed to let them do it.
I agree that they can add all our stuff to the
Yeah,
We
PowerPoint.
are in support, yeah. They have our full support.
I wasn't sure. Anyway, okay.
What was the word that
I don't know, because they want, Chaim said it still needs a little bit work, like match up to the PowerPoint presentation. Because Ben said that the point of the PowerPoint presentation is to help us present this to city council as like, here's the, I think the PowerPoint presentation is kind of compelling when you look at current zoning. Like in my neighborhood, the new houses look nothing like the existing houses, like nothing at all. Much bigger lots, much,
Neighbor.
I live on Pomeroy Street, so like in the plains. But if you look at like
All
that
the new
whole,
construction on the mansions.
all the new, yes, and they're set far back or farther back, and then across the street, all the houses are like
Capes and ranches.
Cute little ranches and-
Yeah. will look nothing alike. Okay,
And then kind of where I live, there's a little area, it's all duplexes, I think, and apartments, and then you go across the new city and it's all the same kind of thing, there are apartment units over there. It's all with one person.
My street is literally multifamily, Cape, colonial-ish, ranch.
Double ADUs, double little houses. across
Oh,
the street.
yeah, the two little houses across the street.
So sweet.
Yeah, his and hers houses.
Yeah.
I know, I love that.
80 years.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm very
Two on
jealous.
one lot.
yeah. So one was there originally.
That's why I
He-
like the
he got
kind
it
idea
right now.
too, because like
It's too
maybe
small for
all
him.
of the
It's too
duplexes
small
in
for
Easthampton don't have to be on Everett Street.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Right, you could build them anywhere. Great. Okay, so that's what we got through our list of things.
Wow.
Yep.
Um,
Awesome.
we are supposed to meet again on July something.
July 25th.
I can't come to that meeting.
There's lightning in my area.
Um,
We're not gonna take that. We're gonna do these things.
our next meeting after that would be August 22nd. There could be value in skipping July because that gives me time to compile everything.
Mhm.
And then we could meet on August 22nd and review the final draft of what we want to do. And then have Counselor Denham present it for us
I can do the 22nd.
of August. Does that work for other
Let me double
people?
check. I think that's the week we come back. Yeah, we're away the week before that.
We are?
Where's it going? You want to come? We're going to Bristol, Maine.
Actually,
It's due for an international trip. You're aware.
I went to Costa Rica in April.
Me too. No, I went in January.
Oh.
February, but yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you do like an adventure tour?
Well, it was with my parents and my brother and his family. So it was more adventurous than a normal vacation, just because I think Costa Rica is more adventurous than but it was great. We had a good time. We didn't travel around. We stayed in one place.
I'll ask you more about it after we're out of the meeting.
Okay.
And, you know,
We went to
get explained
Manuel
to the whole-
Antonio.
That's what we went
The
to.
whole audience.
Cape Coast.
Capos. Okay, so let's skip July and meet in August.
Okay.
And then we will have a draft to look at.
Do we have, we have other,
So the last thing is just a reminder that next week is the next zoning board of appeals meeting for 385 Main Street.
Yes.
If anyone wants to attend, I plan to attend. I did not speak last time. I am planning on speaking this time.
is this,
So
have there
that's-
been other ones? Sorry.
There was one other meeting at the beginning of June.
I went to that one, but there hasn't been another one since then.
No, because
Oh, we went to the one in May,
never was.
right?
The zoning,
The zoning board meeting is on the 26th.
Yes.
I will be-
6 p.m.
It was May 29th was the last meeting. They received technical assistance from Mass Housing Partnership, and so they meet every other week. So they used their other June meeting to get a training.
Oh, good.
Which outfit is this?
The zoning board of appeals.
Oh.
This is the 385 Main Street 40B project. So just an FYI, if you want to go, it's at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make that meeting.
Yeah, 4385.
There's also on, at 7 p.m. on the 25th is the Cottage Street Studios, meeting.
What's that?
So Cottage Street Studios, I don't know a great deal about it is an artist club. So artist lots inside, and the rent is going up 25 to 100%.
I did hear this.
Riverside Industries, I think is the management.
Oh.
So, and they've been trying to get the management to meet with them, and at least at the last time that I had any information, it sounded like they were having trouble getting that meeting. And so it looks like the artists will be, faced with these rent increases that many of them may not be able to afford.
Yeah, I heard about a couple there. They've given us.
Sorry.
Sounds like it might be their purpose, Riverside's
Uh,
purpose to get them.
When is that meeting?
So I think
And where?
I think that that's,
I'm gonna put that under other business.
I'll figure it out in time.
Okay.
It's so drastic.
So I guess I move to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording.
Sherry, you seconded or did Lindsay?
Lindsay. Thanks, everybody.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.